Welcome back, Yinsters. For this practice, you might like to have a blanket and 2 blocks. We're going to dive right in, starting with caterpillar. So taking our blankets, folding them up so we have a little bit of height for the hips. We'll take our legs and extend them out long in front of us, just letting the feet and the legs relax. We'll slowly start to hinge forward, letting the spine round. You could let the chin come in towards the chest if that's okay for your neck. There's no grip or pulling with the hands. And you could play a little bit with the tilt in your pelvis. So you'll notice that if the pelvis tilts back a little bit, you could bring a little bit more roundness through the spine. So targeting more of the ligaments and bones around and in the spine. Tilting the pelvis forward, we're going to feel this a little bit more through the backs of the legs and the hamstrings. The main tendon of the hamstrings, it originates at the ischial tuberosity, or as yoga teachers often call it, your sits bones. So as that moves back, as the pelvis tilts forward, we're going to create more sensation along the hamstrings. Softening, tuning in. And let's slowly start to restack the spine. And when you come to the top, just letting the shoulders fall down and away from the ears. Pausing. And you could use your hands to help bend one knee and then the other. leaning back, just allowing the knees to fall from one side to the other. You could linger in an area that feels like it needs a little more attention. And then we'll come onto all fours and just moving your blanket off to the side. You might like to use it in a moment. We're going to come into Swan on the right side. We'll take the right wrist or the right knee in towards the right wrist. And we'll take just a few cycles of breath in a more upright swan. You might like to have your blanket underneath your right hip. After that long forward fold, being a little bit more upright gives us that back bend, a nice counter. And when you're ready, we'll bring the torso forward and down, coming into sleeping swan. Resting on your forearms. You could use one of your blocks to rest your forehead on. Imagining that you could send your breath all the way down into the right hip, glutes, IT bands. Slowly transition. And as we come into a more upright swan, we'll just bring the weight into the right hip and help or slowly swing the left leg in front. I'm just going to come to lay down on our backs. Sometimes after a deep hip opener like that, it's nice to just come into stillness. Noticing how the right leg and hip feels after we've pressurized and compressed the tissues. Notice if there's been a release of emotions. We'll bend the knees and bring the soles of the feet in. Roll onto one side. Coming all the way back up onto all fours. Left knee towards left wrist. Walking the right leg behind us. You could have a prop underneath the left hip. And pressing into the fingertips or the hands just for a few moments. So we also get the benefit of the back bend. Torso starts to come down towards the earth. The iliotibial band, or the IT band as we call it, on the outside of this left leg is a very dense, thick band of connective tissue. So it's very normal that the sensations that you're feeling could be really intense. So as long as it's not painful, see if you can just be with whatever is coming up, knowing that it will pass. I am breathing in, and I am breathing out. coming up. Leaning the weight into the left hip. Swinging the right leg in front. And just coming to lay down on your back. Letting out any sighs or noises. Can be quite a rush of relief after that. This is quite a bittersweet type practice. It can be a little bit bitter when we're in the shapes, but then so sweet when we come out, or so sweet when we go on to have a good night's sleep and feel less reactive, a little more calm. We'll bend the knees, rolling over onto one side. And then coming up. So you might like to have your blocks close by for this. And you might even like to have your blanket underneath the pelvis. So we are going to continue to dive deep into the IT bands and the glutes. So we'll work our way through this. We're going to start with square. So we'll take our right leg and bring it on top of the left. If your knee is up here somewhere, that's okay. You could always have a block underneath. A shape like this requires quite a bit of external rotation of the femur. And all of our bones have a different orientation and proportion, and how our femur articulates with the acetabulum is very different. So if this is not comfortable for you at all, even with a block underneath, you could be comfortable in half shoelace, where you extend the left leg out in front of you and you could stack the right knee on top. So you can choose. Both are going to target the outer right hip and glute. Starting to come forward. You might have your block to rest your forehead on. You might just rest your elbows on, and then your chin in your hands. Coming out of square or shoelace at your own pace. You feel nice to lean back, extend the legs out. You might even like to let the knees fall side to side. We'll move into the other side. So if you're taking square, the left leg comes to stack somewhere on the right leg. I have a little less external rotation in my left leg than my right, so I like to have that block underneath for some support. And remembering the half shoelace version where the right leg extends and we just stack the left leg on top is an option. It's your body, so you might as well make your yoga suit it. You gotta live in your body every day, right? Starting to hinge forward. Working in stages, honoring your edges. coming up, slow. And making any movements right now that feel good in your body. So one of the many wonderful things about Yin Yoga is that it really helps to prime the body and the mind for seated meditation. So for these last few moments, you're welcome to join me here seated, cross-legged. We've done quite a bit of work to open up the hips, but you are more than welcome to lay down or even sit in a chair. So finding your way to a position that's comfortable. Feeling the breath. On the inhales, allowing the breath to move deep into the belly. Feeling all four walls of the belly expand. On the exhale, the belly slightly constricts. Inhaling into the belly. And exhaling from the belly. We often spend so much time up in our head, thoughts racing and whirling, chaos. By focusing on the breath and by moving the breath deep into the belly, it's like we can drop in, drop down from the chaos, knowing that underneath it all is a strong core of stability and calm. And we carry that within us at all times. So no matter where we are, we can focus on the breath. No one can see us doing it. No one knows. So if you have the time, I invite you to continue to stay seated here, just focusing on your breath and exploring your internal landscape. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your journey inside. Namaste.